Every child needs education, both formal and informal. The formal education starts in pre-primary for all school-age-going children around the world, although most are enrolled in preschool. According to United Nations, in low-income countries like Uganda, a tenth of children of 3 to 5 years enroll for formal primary education, while 3 out of every 4 children drop out. Uganda lacks early childhood education, although there is a policy provision for it. Available preschools are unaffordable, private-owned and located in urban areas.
But there is a particular age gap that we noticed that it was missing out on the system. And these are the children between 0 to 6. Now, we know that children's brain development mostly takes place between 0 to 6. Can children from poor communities and slum communities manage to pay for their own school, especially when you talk about nursery schools or daycare? So we identified that the element of ECD was lacking.
Poor families fail to afford the cost of enrolling children to early childhood facilities because of exorbitant fees charged, excluding majority of children.
And many children can't go to school just because they know, I won't have a meal or I'm hungry, and this is going to affect their ability to study and how fast they can learn in class.
Others, remember, they are single mothers, so they cannot afford this education.
You're even going to find a child of 3 or 4 years, they're picking up plastic bottles, they're picking up scrap to go and sell it off. And a child would rather do that rather than come to school.
But also urbanization comes with its own evils. So many people are rushing into the city where they can have opportunities. Now, most of these people coming into these cities are those who can actually not afford to stay in the city. So they will end up staying in the slums. We also know that the poor produce a lot. So we will end up having so many children produced in these slum communities, and there would be limited or no interventions at all to take care of them.
Education is a basic human right and key in breaking the cycle of poverty in society. However, it is inaccessible and unaffordable by many families living in city slums. Children miss essential social services in most communities, but poor policies in planning are responsible for failure in active early childhood development. Most children are not registered at birth or as they grow, resulting into poor child monitoring systems. Early childhood development is key to living a full and productive life. But according to UNICEF, 55% of Uganda's 3.7 million children under the age of 5 are living in poverty. Under 5 mortality rate is 90 deaths per 1,000 live births. Undernutrition accounts for 40% of under 5 deaths. 2.3 million children are chronically undernourished. An average family can't afford a meal a day. This is common in urban communities living in city slums, including Katanga, Namuwongo, Kisenyi, and Naguru. A 27-year-old Pauline Namayanja, resident of Katanga suburb, is a mother of 5 children. She is from Masaka district, about 130 kilometers southwest of Kampala city. She came to Kampala city to seek employment, but she failed. She cannot feed her children. Investing in mothers and young children will reduce mortality of under 5 infants. They can go to school to break the initial intergenerational cycle of poverty. Community-based early childhood development centers receive little or no state funding, are under-equipped, or often lack basic needs. They are managed by untrained volunteers. In 2016, Uganda Integrated Early Childhood Development Policy was launched to benefit children from conception to 8 years of age. The policy designed provide basic health care, adequate nutrition, nurturing and care within a safe, clean environment to children, but it has not yet yielded any results. Now, Kids Club Kampala, a non-government organization, wants to increase access to and coverage of integrated community-based early childhood development services that meet national standards to benefit disadvantaged children in city slums. The Encouraging Education project was introduced in late 2010. Kids Club Kampala implements non-formal early childhood development in 3 Kampala slums of Katanga, Namuwongo and Naguru.
So that's why we came up with what we call the informal early education for all. It is free in such a way that it looks like UPE, and we've been running it as a pilot project in the 3 slum communities here in Kampala.
We provide daily free non-formal education. This is where children come in every day and they're handled by professional ECD teachers, handle them on a daily basis with the help of social workers who act as teaching assistants. We provide the children with scholastic materials as well, whereby a child just has to come in and study.
The development of children in the first 5 years is fundamental for brain development and helps a child attain full potential. In slums, children are exposed to risk trends. They are neglected by their families and later may engage in drug abuse, forced labor, and commercial sex.
When we look at the kind of setup of their communities, especially the slum communities, there is a lot of domestic abuse, and there is a lot of crime, there is a lot of violence that they are exposed to.
Some of them are living on streets from as early as 4 years, 3 years, and the child is just roaming around. They don't have a permanent place to stay, or they don't actually have parents to stay with. They are drug addicts, they are thieves, they are pickpocketers. So whenever a child does not receive education at all, especially from a very young state, they turn into something undesirable.
Parenthood is generally a big challenge. The parents are running up and down, looking for survival, but also on the other hand, they are also not good parents. They do not pay much attention to the children's childhood. So we come in as an organization to bring them to the center and play that role that would have been played by their parents.
The Encouraging Educational project increases access to quality non-formal education for out-of-school children in Kampala slums. It provides children free education classes. Under the project, Kids Club Kampala is intervening through removing barriers that prevent children from accessing education, including deficiency of scholastic materials and hunger. This provides a free learning environment, provides parental and community engagement to support children in the learning process. The project provides for out-of-school vulnerable children between the age of 3 and 15 years. Shamira Nambovi is 15 years old, living in Katanga slum. She's in senior 1 and beneficiary of the scholarship project. Her parents couldn't afford her education.
Kids Club Kampala has helped me to pay my school fees since before. Now I am in senior 1 and they are still paying for me my school fees. They want to be a doctor.
At least over 300 children attend daily classes at the 3 community centers of Katanga, Naguru and Namuwongo. The children are provided a nutritious meal which boosts good health and improves attention span.
Children come on empty stomachs and the parents are poor in the slums.
Whereby free meals are given, balanced diet to our children of ECD project.
As a way to encourage them to come to class every day, and as a way to support their nutrition and support their learning. And this we do on a daily basis in all the 3 Kids Club Kampala centers.
Since the project inception in the past 10 years, 1,000 vulnerable children from deprived families have had access to quality education. The teachers supporting these community centers use a non-formal approach to learning, which allows tutors adapt learning to a child's essential needs. There is flexibility in time the lessons take place.
In non-formal education, a child is not going to wear a uniform, a child is not going to have a badge, a child is not going to have a bag. It's not run by like the normal school we all know about. Our school begins at 1 p.m. and ends at 4 p.m. But we deliver the same content.
This type of education is really good. Why? Since these children are not used to sit for too long, they have a short time span to sit and be taught, we normally bring in informal education. How? We begin with singing, we begin with telling them stories. They also participate, and that is called individual participation.
This early childhood education helps children to interpret most of the symbols. For us, we give them the basics, the numbers, the counting.
So in that process, we are able to understand different characters and the personalities of the children using that informal education. So after then, we can come in and bring in the formal type of education.
In the slums of Naguru and Namuwongo, Kids Club Kampala non-formal early childhood education program has nurtured and educated the child.
Kid Club is a very good project. In fact, they were doing best in vulnerable children. Cooking for them, taking them to school, paying them good school, uniform, without any trouble.
Kids Club has been so helpful in our community here, especially in basic education to our children. Those cannot afford school fees.
And they are very good in helping the children.
Early childhood development through non-formal education has created harmony between parents, children, and the community.
When the children are fed, as well as learning, that is where a parent picks interest and said, let me stop keeping my child here. Let me take them to school.
Many of them are not loved. They are left alone by their parents. So we bring in that love, that spiritual love, whereby you love a child unconditionally.
They are picking morale. They are finding value in education.
When they're picking their children, we tell them what they have learned that day and what the parents can really do. A parent can really be taught by a child when they go back home. Like, Mommy, this is sound, this is like that.
Our parents benefited too through meetings that we call them. They have been attaining education through parents' meetings. They have also achieved knowledge of how they can handle our children.
We bring in the issue of culture. We tell them a woman sits like this, a man sits like this. When you're talking to a person, you have to stand like this. So that culture perspective also is being achieved in this process of using the non-formal education.
The program targets child brain growth and promotes moral values among children growing in slums.
So in that process, a child is able to critically think, and the brain develops.
Through ECD, they have learned how to read and write, because some of them, they came in that they had never gone to school, yet it was their age to go to school, but they are delayed going.
The lessons are designed for the Ugandan curriculum. A child gains social skills and learns through teachers' support in a classroom environment. This project provides safe places within slums for children to go daily with a teacher who supervises them in a context that protects them from significant dangers of slum life.
For us as an organization, good child development is important for national development.
We have security at this place. We have very well ventilated, safe places for this child to stay.
Since poverty, they wake up very early in the morning to go and do other businesses. So it has also made us to involve, to go and look for these children, to do follow-up. We have not left them like that.
We are providing them with a chance to be children.
Amid its challenges, the project has a huge impact and is aiming at having these children grow up with a solid educational foundation that will enable them to be responsible and self-reliant citizens.
According to the number of kids we are catering, the running materials are not enough.
We are also being called upon in other slums. For example, Chisenyi, Musajja, Lumbwa zone. The leaders there have already invited us to extend our service to their community, but our resources are still meager. Then also, on the other hand, our project is informal early education for all. Now, the technocrats have not heard about the informal kind of education. We are looking at a more robust partnership with the authorities, especially KCCA, that we can be part and parcel of developing these slum communities.
Investing in early years of a child develops human capital. Uganda's future will depend on providing tools that produce an educated and skilled workforce. For Uganda to achieve Vision 2040, it should invest in early childhood development, educating the child, and supporting children non-governmental groups.
In Uganda today, if a child is really engaged in non-formal education, that is formal and informal education, both at once with energy, that child will be really different in the society. Will have a different way of thinking and will be a hard-working person, not only looking for offices to work in, but be able to creating his or her own job. Basing on this non-formal education, we teach them how to cook. We teach them how to be obedient. Like when they go to offices, they will be able to be obedient. And in that process, as a government, we are fighting corruption. So when we engage our children in this non-formal education, we shall be able to fight corruption indirectly.
So no child should miss out on early childhood development, and the government should provide more ECD centers, more ECD facilities in the country.
On the other hand, we have so many children on the streets, but when you look at where they are coming from, these are children from the slum communities. So if we work together with KCCA and the Ministry of Gender and all these government parties together, our projects would actually help instill more morals and provide a better support for these children. And together we shall have a better city where we have streets free of street children, because we have taken an initiative and we have taken time to nurture and provide support for those who would be street children for tomorrow. So we are looking at that as our future prospect for these particular communities.